How's it going, guys? Welcome back. So today's video, what I want to focus on is actually giving our AI some better animations. It's been fun watching our character T-pose towards us when they come and attack us, but I think it's finally time that we address that. So what I want to do, if we select our character's mesh, and over here where we assigned an animation blueprint, looking back, hindsight, I think it was unnecessary for us to create a brand new animation blueprint because our AI is derived from the default mannequin for Unreal. That one actually has a animation blueprint that it comes with animations already in it. So I think what we can do is just replace this one with ABP Quinn. And as you can see, now it has an idle animation. And that should take care of that. However, if I hit play, we have a little issue here. So even though we assign them an animation blueprint, they are not playing their walking animations. And I'll show you why. If we go to ABP Manny, which the ABP Quinn mannequin is derived from, there is a node in here called Get Current Acceleration. And if we don't have a specific variable checked within our blueprints, this won't work. So if we go to our blueprint again, we go to character movement components, and then we type use acceleration. So it's this use acceleration for pass. If this is not checked, that node will not work. So now, with it checked, if we hit play, now our character is moving. However, we do have one other problem. So as you notice, they reached our location, but they did not attack us. So there is a small thing that we need to fix inside of our AI blueprint. If we go here, and we go to the event graph, and we take a look at pawn sensing, what's happening when it sees a pawn is that it's saying to move to a target. However, if we go to our move to target logic here, and we take a look, this acceptance radius for when the AI should attack is not being set anywhere before this. So what we need to do, let's go back out here, and instead of move to target, let's go ahead and change that to make decision. That way, whenever it goes through, it is going to assign an acceptance radius for it. And one thing I actually realized in the last video is I made a little mistake here for the strafe acceptance radius. Essentially it's being set here, and then it's being set again and overridden right here. So we can fix that real quick just by adding the top one into move to target, and now the AI should strafe at a further distance. So now that our AI is moving, let's go ahead and give it some proper dodging animations. One thing we can do to do that, if we take a look at our current dodging logic, how we were doing it before is we were doing it manually because we didn't have any animations. Now you can still use this if you have an in-place animation of the dodge. All you would have to do is figure out the distance you would want it to move, and that way it lines up with the animation, and you would basically just play the animation here. I'll just show you real quick. We'll do a play montage. Actually, not here. We would do it here. This is where we would insert it. But you would just make it play, and instead of having it end with completed, you would just go straight through it like this. That way it plays as well as moves the character at the same time. But since we have root motion animations, we don't need to use this logic. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to unhook the beginning and end here. I am going to leave this because we do want our character to actually face our player before they dodge. But we are going to change this here. And I think how we can address this is if we go to our data asset here. Let's go ahead and click on AI data. And if we hit the specific AI's data assets, And in our dodging animations, let's make a couple of empty slots. I'm only going to put the left and the right dodge animation here, but that will work. One thing I've also done is I have gone ahead and imported this one-handed anim sword animation set into the project. That way we can have some better animations for our AI character. If you have your own animations, feel free to import those, and I will show you how to retarget them. So if I go to our sword animations, and if I just click on one of these and I do retarget animations, since I'm working in Unreal Engine 5.5, I'm unable to show you the old way of how to retarget animations, like in 5.3, but they should have a retargeter that's already set up that will retarget the Unreal Engine 4 mannequin to Unreal Engine 5. But for this, let's go ahead and find the animations we want. So I'm going to type in dodge. So there's our animations. Now we need to assign a skeletal mesh. So if we go to our AI, click on the mesh, and then navigate to where the mesh is in our project, I'm going to go ahead and assign the mesh here and select these dodge animations. I'm going to hit export animations. And then let's go to our folder here, which is new AI for me. And then I've gone ahead and created a new folder called sword animations, which is where they are held. So I'm going to go ahead and export those. So here are my new animations. Now what I want to do is convert these to animation montages. So I'm going to select all of them. I'm going to create anim montage. And then now I'm going to go ahead and move those over to a new folder that I've named sword montages, just to keep them separate. So if we open up our Dodge R montage, and then we click on the animation that's inside of here and go to open asset, and we type in root, if we enable root motion, now you should see that now they're actually moving with the root. Let's go ahead and do that for our left one as well. Go to open assets, enable root motion, hit save. Okay, open those up. So now I want my left and my right dodge animations. So there we go, there's my left. Here is my right. We go ahead and hit save. Let's head back into our blueprints, and we're going to go to set AI variables. And so where I'm setting the animations right here, I'm just going to make an empty space we can set our dodging animations. Dodging animations, and then I'm going to go ahead and promote that to a variable. Okay, Unreal's being stupid. Okay, we'll just set them like this. And then now let's head back to our dodging logic. Let's get our dodging animations. We're going to do random array item, and then promote this to a variable and call it dodging animation. And so since we are randomizing it just with this node right here already, we don't need to use this anymore. So I can go ahead and remove this. Remove all this. I'm just going to scooch it up here for now. We'll do a play montage. And then we're going to assign our dodging animation as well as our character skeletal mesh. So let's go ahead and wire this up here. And then let's not forget to add in the end segment of it for whenever the animation is finished. And so now our character should actually play a left and right dodging animation. Let's try it out. One thing that we should probably add now, since our character is going to be more of a melee focused character, is the option if we want our AI to be able to use projectiles or not. And we can do that by going to our data asset, going to our original one, DAAI, and then let's create a boolean for can fire projectiles. Go ahead and set that, and then in our character's data asset, let's go ahead and leave that false. That way they shouldn't be able to fire projectiles. Now let's go in here, go to our event graph, go to where we're setting the variables, and I'm going to set it here towards the beginning. So we'll get can fire projectiles. We'll promote that to a variable. And now if we go back to our make decision branch, if we go here to where the projectile logic is, we can add in that boolean. Whoops, looks like I missed that one. I'm going to create a new branch, and then I'm going to assign can fire projectiles. And so if we can fire projectiles, we can just wire this straight into here. And then if the character shouldn't be able to fire projectiles, we can just wire this into here for the false, and then just divert it. So now our character should not be able to fire projectiles. Okay, so real quickly, I'm going to kind of organize this here just so I can look at things a little bit easier. I'm going to scooch this over here. I'm going to name this patrolling. I'm going to name this projectiles. Scooch this out of it. Let's scooch this a little closer to it. Then for here, this is strafing. And this is strafing and attacking. So I'm going to just select this top section here. Strafing. And then I will name this attacks. And then I'm going to select this section here, and I'm going to call it should strafe or attack. So earlier when we were testing, I realized that when I shot the character from far away, they dodged, but they didn't like turn towards our character first before they dodged, so they kind of just dodged in a weird direction. So let's fix that real quick. If we scooch this montage over, we actually already had this logic created where we had our AI face our character. So we'll just pop that back in here before they play their animation, and that should fix that. So one thing that we can add to make our AI a little bit more of a threat is the ability to dash towards the character. And so that's what I think I want to do next. And go into our data assets, and then for this we only really need to create a single animation montage. So we'll call this dash animation. Make it an anim montage. I'm going to put it above all the other ones since it's a single. And then if we go in here, we can assign our dash animation. So now we need something, a way to determine if our AI can dash or not. So if we go to our event graph, we go to make decision. So here, if we look at our distances, if we look at our strafe range, it's set to 440, and I think that our dash animation is a little further away than that. So I think that we could set our determiners before this. So if we go here, what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and kind of connect it here so we have a nice clean wire to work with. So what I want to do, let's use this get distance to, which is already kind of coming through here, and then we'll do is greater or equal to, let's promote this to a variable, and then we'll call this dash range. And I think our dash is probably, I'm going to assume it's probably around like 500 or close to 600 units. I'm going to be on the safe side, and then I'm just going to give this a value of 600. We should probably also add this to our data asset real quick. Create dash range, float, add it there, assign it a value of 600. Go ahead and save it. We're going to go back to our set AI variables. I'm going to scooch this over. Get dash range and set dash range. Okay, let's go back to our make decision. So now let's create a branch, and then now we need to generate odds of it dashing. So we're going to go ahead and wire the false up to should strafe or attack. I'm going to kind of clean this up a little bit. So now let's do the same thing that we've done several times already, which is random float in range. We'll set the max to 100, and then we'll ask less or equal to. We'll promote this to a variable and call it odds of dashing. Of course, you know, we'll probably go ahead and add it to our data asset a little later. Right now I kind of just want to continue on with this. So we'll do this, and I'll just compile and assign it a value. Let's give it a 20% chance to dash. Actually, for testing, let's assign it to a higher value. We'll do like 80, and then we can always change it. And so now what we should do, there's a couple ways we can handle this. We could create a brand new branch of our enumerator for the dashing, and we honestly probably should do it that way just to kind of keep everything separated and segmented. So let's do that by I'm going to navigate to the folder real quick. Okay, so if we go to our EAI states, I'm going to add a new enumerator for dash, And then let's go back here. Let's set our AI state to dash. And then we also need to set an acceptance radius for it. So I think what we should do and how we should handle this is we should set our acceptance radius to be the same radius as our normal attack, right? Because after he dashes, it's going to continue to move towards the character, and then once they reach the character, that's when they should attack. So we'll do it this way. Oh, actually, we should set that before. And then let's go ahead and wire the false into here. If it chooses not to dash, I'm going to go ahead and just name this dash. I think what we need to do is define a minimum and a maximum range. So what we can do is we can convert this dash range here to dash minimum range, and then we can pull out of our get distance to, and then ask is less or equal to, and then this will be the dash maximum range. And then of course, if he's not within either of those ranges, then we're just going to continue on with the rest of the logic. But let's go ahead and go into our data asset and create one. We'll change this, and then we'll create a new one. So we go to dash range. This will be dash minimum range. And then we'll create a new one. There we go. Dash maximum range. Bring that in there, and then we're going to define it here. I'm thinking, let's see. So our dash minimum range is 600 units away, and I'm thinking the maximum range should be, I don't know, maybe should be twice that. Actually, we'll just make it 1,100. There we go. And then of course, you know the process. Go back in here. Get our max range, set dash max range. So now if we go to our enumerator, we have this new slot for dashing. So now what we can do play montage. And then we of course want to set our state to stop brain. Go ahead and assign it a skeleton. Need a dash animation. So let's do that real quick. I believe we already set that up in our data asset. Now we just need to bring it into our blueprint. Get dash animation, promote it to a variable. Compile, save. Let's go back out and assign it. So once the dash animation is finished playing, I think we should probably do make decision. And then it will probably continue to move towards our character to attack them. So I think that this should do it. Let's go ahead and collapse this into a new node. Call it dashing. So now if we go to our animation montage, we go to the animation that's in it, open asset. Now we can enable root motion. And we want to make sure that he is actually facing our character when he dodges, and we can just copy the face direction, or face the direction of our character logic here. And just to kind of simplify this or clean things up, I'm going to collapse this into a function. I'm going to call it face target. Face player. There we go. Now we can copy that, go back out here, back into our dashing logic. Wire that up, and that should take care of it at the very beginning here. So let's go ahead and remove this. So one thing that I want to change is the way that we're approaching the initialization of the dodging. Right now we're having it so whenever the AI is actually taking damage, that's when it's determining if it should dodge or not. But ideally, if we're making a more melee focused game, we would want to notify the AI if they should dodge or not before the actual attack goes off. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that now. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is create a new blueprint interface event. So let's go to our folder with our AI and go to our new AI interface, and let's create a new function called we're going to create two functions here. Set can dodge, and then this one is going to have a boolean here. We'll call this can dodge, or we'll call this in dodge range. And then the second one we're going to create is notify attack. So the first thing we're going to do is go into our player character. My player character is this blueprint, so you would just go to your player character blueprint and then select your capsule components and look for box. So we're going to put in a box collision here. And then we're just going to kind of put it in front of our character. And this will kind of represent the range in which the AI can dodge or attacks, right? So if they're within this zone, that means that they can dodge or attacks. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on our box. Actually, I'm going to rename this real quick. I'm going to call this dodge range. And then real quickly, I'm also going to go and type in collision and just make sure that it can overlap everything. Okay, so let's right click on our dodge range, and then we're going to look for begin overlap as well as end overlap. So with these, we're going to first ask actor has tag, And then I'm going to type in AI for the tag. And then real shortly we will be going back over to our AI to assign this tag. But let's go ahead and duplicate this for the bottom one as well. Other actor. So if our box collision overlaps our AI and our AI has this tag given to it, we're going to call that new notify event that we created called set can dodge. And so if they are overlapping it, we're going to set it to true that they can dodge, and then we're going to duplicate this. And then down here we're going to set it false and make sure that it is wired in. I'm going to go ahead and label this set can dodge. So now let's go over to our AI's blueprint. And then if you select the top one in the hierarchy, and then we type in tag, here at the bottom, I had already done this, but what you'll do is you'll just go to where it says tags, hit the plus, and then we're going to type in AI. So we're assigning this tag to our AI. So now what we need to do is in our interface event, we're going to double click on the set can dodge, and then let's right click and promote it to a variable. It looks like I had already created this earlier. Whoops. So we're just going to set this in dodge range. I'm just going to scooch this here for now. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to create an anim notify event. So if we go to our folder, we go to anim notifies, we're going to create a new one. So right click, blueprint class, anim notify. We're just going to select the basic one. We'll call this an notify attack. So let's open this up, and in the override function we're going to go to receive notify. We're going to pull out of the mesh and look for excuse me, get owner, and then we're going to call the interface event that we created called notify attack. There we go. Okay, so now what we need to do, let's go back to our player character, and what we need to do here is we need to set whatever character is overlapping this box, we need to promote it to a variable. So we're going to right click on this other actor here, promote to variable, and we'll call this AI actor. And it's kind of, okay, there we go. And I'm going to drag it to the end over here. And then I'm going to duplicate it, and then we're just going to clear it here on the bottom. So whenever the AI exits this space, then we're going to say, hey, you can't dodge, and we're going to clear the reference. So the next thing we're going to do is implement our AI's interface into our player character. That way we can access our dodge or notify attack interface event. So let's go to our player character, go to the class settings, and then you'll hit add. We're going to search for BPI, new AI. And since I've already added it earlier, it is right here in mine. But once you add that interface, it should show up here, and then we can do a search for notify attack. Let's go ahead and double click that to create the event. So now with our set reference here, what we can do is grab that reference, AI actor, and then the first thing we need to do is check and see if this is a valid reference. So we're going to right click and convert to validated get, and if it is valid, then we're going to call notify attack. And let me do this. Okay, we're almost done. There's a couple more things we need to do. Let's go to our new AI, or let's go back to our AI's blueprint, and then let's also look for that notify attack and add it here. And so with this in here, this is essentially going to fire off whenever we want our AI to decide whether they should dodge or not. So let's go to where our dodging logic is here, or where it determines whether it should dodge, which is coming out of our take damage. And so let's go ahead and just bypass this and plug it in here. And then as you can see, I already created this branch here earlier. I didn't mean to, but it's essentially whenever our box collision is overlapping our AI, it is setting this whether they can, if they're in dodge range or not. And so if you create this branch with this variable plugged into it, if they are in dodge range, then it can determine whether or not the AI can dodge or not. Okay, so that takes care of that. The last thing we need to do is create a new anim. Oh, we already did. So the last thing we need to do actually is just in our player character's attack animation, we would just assign this notify whenever the animation is about to play. So I have already gone ahead. I know my character is a third-person shooter kind of character. But what I've gone ahead and done is I've just replaced the fire weapon logic with a play montage here. So it's basically whenever I hit the trigger button, it's going to play this this attack montage. So if we open this up, it's going to kind of work just the same as the things that we had done for our AI's attacks. So if we open this up real quick, where we added in these AN notify events, we're going to do the exact same thing for our player's animation, or melee animation. So whenever he's about to make a swing, so I'm going to put it like right here, I'm going to create a new notify. So we'll do add notify and then search for notify, and this is the AN notify attack that we created. So how it's going to work, the player character the box collision overlaps the AI. If they're close enough to them, it's going to tell the AI that they're in attack range, and then inside of the animation itself, it's going to fire off this attack notify event, and then from our notify event, it's getting our owner, our player character, and then calling this interface event. And then from inside of our interface event, which is down here, it's calling the same event inside of our AI's character. And so if we go to our AI, that's going to fire off here, and that's going to determine whether or not our AI can dodge. So I know it was a lot of setup, but this is the proper way to do it. So now let's just give it a shot and test it out. So now that we have our dodging set up properly for melee attacks, let me go ahead and name this real quick. Dodge, notify. Let me just move this somewhere else in here. So now that we have this properly set up, if we wanted to actually do it so we could use projectiles as well, what we could do is create a new Blueprint interface event. So let's go to our interface, and then we'll create a new function, and we'll call this projectile attack. Or we'll call it is projectile. Okay, so now that we have this, what we can do is go into the projectile itself that we're using. In my case, I'm not actually using projectiles, I'm using a line trace. So we would go to our line trace event. Give me 1 second. Okay, so here is where my line trace is happening inside of my character. What we can do is, before this apply damage here, we can take our hit actor from our result of our line trace, and then we can call is projectile. We'll go ahead and connect that. Let's head back into our AI. Whoops. Our AI, and then we will create the event for is projectile. And so, yeah, this is a perfect spot for it. What we can do is we'll create a new Boolean, and then we'll call it is projectile attack question mark. And then out of this, we're going to set this to true. And then essentially back where our dodge logic used to be, down here, it was right before this fleeing right here. We're going to bring this in here. We're going to plug it in. Coming out of the false. And then now let's create a new event here. Right where our new dodge logic is, and we'll call it projectile. And then we'll essentially just wire it up to our odds of dodging. Okay, so all we need to do now is just call that new event. Call the projectile event, and if we go to it, all we need to do is just set this is projectile attack back to false, whether it is true or not. That way it will automatically reset. Let me move this around a little bit. Try to avoid clutter. And that should do it. So that's one thing we need to fix. It looks like when he was trying to like roam, he was still trying to face my character. So I think what we need to do is go into our AI, and then for our make decision, so whenever they are roaming, well, actually, here's what we should do. For the patrol, we just want to make sure that he's not facing our character no matter what, so we can just go straight to our patrol, and then coming out of here, set look at target to false. And so one thing I'm also noticing is that ever since we switched this to make decision, it doesn't seem like he is actually going after our character until he's reached a stopping point in his patrol. So I think what we need to do is go into our make decision here, and then we're essentially just going to bypass this patrol right here, and we're going to create a new event, and then we're going to do on spotted enemy. That way we're just going to bypass all this, and then we'll go back here. We're going to delete this, call on spotted enemy. Okay guys, I think that will do it for this video. We made good progress. We got our AI to actually walk around instead of T-posing. We also got him to dodge properly, and then we also fixed the dash range and a couple other things. So next video we will continue to build upon this and implement even more advanced mechanics. I think it would be cool to have like a zigzag pattern, like him trying to avoid you with a zigzag pattern. And then we could even do some kind of special attacks, like maybe him levitating and, you know, firing like from his hand down or something. I don't know. We'll get creative in the next video. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.